Welcome everybody to the 5th annual Winter Classic. We're at Citizens Bank Park, the Flyers and the Rangers, and they build this as Broad Street against Broadway. Sam Carchidi with the Philadelphia Inquirer and Philly.com with Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News. And Pat, what are your impressions of this game and the Flyers and the Rangers and the build-up this game has received?
Well, the Rangers did express after their win against Florida on Friday night that they were relieved that the game was here, but they didn't want to treat it like more than it was. They want 2 points. They've gotten 4 points against the Flyers already, and now that they have 2 points in hand over the Flyers in the Atlantic Division, they'd really like to put their feet on their throats and really try to take command of the series this season.
Yeah, it's funny. The Flyers have also downplayed the significance of this game as far as being a national event and playing outdoors. To them, this is a game for the Eastern Conference, a game for the Atlantic Division, and their feeling is they've been embarrassed twice by the Rangers. They've been beaten 2-0 and 4-2, and they want a better showing. Not because it's an outdoor game, not because over 4 million people will be watching it, but because this is a big game if the Flyers want to make some ground in the Eastern Conference and the Atlantic Division. So it'll be a great battle. I think you'll see the Flyers play much better than they did in the 2 games in New York. Both games were Madison Square Garden. And talk about the Rangers' domination a little bit, Pat, and why they were able to dominate the first 2 games in this series.
When the Rangers thrive against the Flyers, it's because they are playing that simple game, and they're not allowing players like Claude Giroux, players like Jaromir Jagr to find the open ice and really do so much work that their strong goaltending is just rendered moot.
And you mentioned Jagr and Giroux. They of course are 2 guys who anchor the Flyers' power play, but yet the Flyers' power play has struggled against the Rangers, and the Rangers' power play I know has struggled during the season, and that'll probably be key. I mean, these games always come down to goaltending and special teams. Talk about the Ranger power plays and their struggles.
The Rangers have talked a lot about if we want to go deep into the playoffs, the power play is something we have to rectify and has to be consistent. And interestingly, against the Flyers this season, the Rangers are 2 for 6 against on the power play. But in the last 9 games, they only have 2 power play goals. I think it's 2 for 26. So that's something they have to rectify. Tortorella has tried playing his lines on separate units. He's really tinkering with it like he does with the lines all season, trying to get something going. But why has it been driving so much on the Flyers end?
Well, the key is obviously Jagr. When Jagr's healthy, he makes the power play work, and Claude Giroux, both are back now. They both have missed time with injuries this year. Scott Hartnell has been a big body out front, and they've been very productive. They've been very consistent. And on the other hand, I want to talk about an area that has not been consistent on the Flyers, goaltending. From the Rangers standpoint, do you think it matters much who the Flyers use as the goaltender?
From the Rangers standpoint, no, I don't think they changed their game. In fact, one criticism of John Tortorella is that he says, we're not concerned about the other team, we're concerned about our game, we're going to play the same way. Some would say that's the reason that they do lose to teams like the Maple Leafs, or that they would lose to a team with the strengths of the Flyers because they don't adjust. But on the Rangers side, in the net, that has actually been just as steady as it has been before. Add on the fact that former Flyer Marty Biron, the talkative backup, is 7-2 this season and really thriving. And Henrik Lundqvist, 16-7-4 coming into this game, actually admitted in Florida on Friday night that he feels healthier, his body feels better, he feels like he has more energy because of John Tortorella's plan to start him something closer to 60 to 65 starts this season as opposed to the 68, 70, 70 plus that he would, because he wants him healthy in the playoffs. So that's where the Rangers feel like they have an advantage. And I think that's where the fans feel that they have an advantage in this game. But you never know, because a guy like Brizgalov is always capable of standing on his head. But if Bobrovsky is playing that well, maybe he steals one from the Rangers.
Yeah, Bobrovsky in his last 8 games has a goals against average of about 1.5, and his save percentage is close to .950. So he's on his game right now. Before we close this off, I guess we should make predictions. Put you on the spot. We didn't rehearse this or anything.
No.
Give me a score and why you think the score will be as you predict.
I'll put it to a shootout, because the Rangers tend to gain leads and then have to hunker down and protect them. And the Flyers seem to sustain pressure, but not always hit the net. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's a higher score, maybe a 3-3 goes to overtime, heads to a shootout, and I like Lundqvist winning it for the Rangers in a shootout.
Okay, kind of to gain revenge on the game a couple years ago where he was beaten by Brian Boucher, and the Flyers, of course, won that game to get in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So Pat's going with the Rangers in a shootout. I'll go with the Flyers 3-2, and I'll give Danny Briere, who's a big-time player. Danny Briere produces in the playoffs, and it seems like when the spotlight's on him, he produces. So I'll say Danny Briere with the winning goal, a 3-2 Flyers win. It should be fun. Appreciate the time.
Thanks for having me.
Pat Leonard, New York Daily News. I'm Sam Carchidi, Philadelphia Inquirer, Philly.com. We'll see you in the papers.